I
Ooh.
actually, yeah, I actually like some country music quite a bit, to be honest. Uh, I like Towns Van Zandt, for instance, quite a bit,
Yeah.
and I like, um, I love Will Oldham, of course. You know, he's fairly country. At least his more recent stuff, he's kind of gone full country. I used to, this kid I went to high school with, we used to be on the track and kind of cross country teams together. He was dating this girl, and her name was Ashley Geary or Gearing, but she was from Massachusetts, same state as me, but she was doing the whole Nashville renovation thing. She had a record label deal, and they were gonna he was telling me they were trying to make her the new Taylor Swift, but then I met her and I saw her sing once, and it was like she was Taylor Swift but she couldn't write a song, she couldn't sing, and she was like half as beautiful. So I was like, why do they need another Taylor Swift if it's not an improvement in any single way? Anyway, so her career never quite took off. Um, anyway, so yeah, I just want to warn the audience. Uh, there's a country music festival happening across the street from me today, so you might hear interjections of what's his name? I keep forgetting. Zach Bryan. So let's hope Zach Bryan doesn't sue me for copyright infringement. Nevertheless, welcome back to another episode of System of Systems by Safety Propaganda. This is your host, Mr. Adam Lehrer. I am here with two friends of mine, as well as two scribes. Novelist Thomas Moore, back for the second time. Welcome, sir.
Hi, thank you.
And Ms. Audrey Szasz, fiction writer, poet, and probable Mossad agent. Audrey, welcome to the show for the first time.
But I can't deny it.
Nor should you.
I try to keep kosher.
Yeah, exactly. So what's going on with you guys?
Well, it's kind of summer apparently. So
Yeah.
I'm currently dying in a weird, pathetic British heat wave that
Really?
that
Yeah,
people enjoy moaning about. Yeah.
we're
And
not meant for it.
apart from that, trying to turn sort of like 30,000 words or 40,000 words of something I've been working on into a book that actually makes sense and is good. Yeah, that's another big thing I'm working on. It's a
See, you already
taking up.
got another book in the pipeline.
Yeah, I mean that's the weird thing. Like whenever I'm releasing a book, it seems like it's, to everyone else it's just come out, but I've probably been working on it for months or even a year. And so I always have these things sort of like queued up, I'm like a DJ.
No,
I've got things
I identify with that quite a bit.
um,
I actually, the one that I just finished, I've been working on since a year before even Communions came out. So I'm like so fucking ready to close the chapter in that chapter in my life. And I have an idea for a novel that I want to write, but I also just got commissioned to do this fucking hunt. I can't really talk about the content of it, but I got commissioned to do a more sort of like surreal journalism kind of thing by a big company. So I have to start working on that. And I don't know if you guys feel this at all, but I get like deep anxiety in the liminal space between the end of something that I just worked on and like starting something new. Like I feel like I can't fully commit to the new thing until the other one's fully out.
yeah,
Yeah, it can be a distraction, I think. Like if I know
Yeah.
something, I have to be working on something all the time, really. But I think, like with the one that just came out, I've been working on a couple of things, but also, but yeah, until that's like a real thing in my hand, it still feels like even though I've got nothing to do with it at that point. like it's being pressed and things. Like I don't have any handle on that. Yeah, it does feel like a real distraction until it's actually a physical thing that people have.
Yeah.
And then you have to promote it
Yeah.
on online and in various things. So you never,
Podcasts.
it takes months to completely like let go of something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I relish self-promotion, as I'm sure you probably know. I was wondering how you two deal with it, or how you feel about it.
I think like I like the book, so that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
So it's like it's nice to have it. You kind of see it as something different. Well, I do once it's out there. And other people are reading it. You kind of hear different people's takes on it and stuff. Yeah, whether they're the same as mine or not. It kind of it becomes something new, which is kind of interesting, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just see the promotion aspect as the like part of the territory, and not in a negative way or a positive way, just like in a robotic way. Sort of like it's there. Publishers spent time putting it out there, so you have to do the decent thing and spend time acting like it's all worthwhile, because it should be.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
You kind of owe it. Someone else's money's gone into it in time, so I think that's the thing. Like I don't mind doing it because it's someone like Philip, for example. You're doing it for Philip.
Exactly. It's funny you mentioned this. Have you either of you two watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger docuseries that Netflix put out?
No, not yet.
Recommend it. Pretty good. Arnold's a hero of mine. But they're talking, it's 3 parts. First part is bodybuilding, second part is film, and then third part is politics. And it just talks about how this once in a lifetime guy just fucking conquered whatever he wanted to do. But they're saying the reason, there was a big battle between Arnold and Stallone in the 80s about who would be the biggest paid movie star. And by 1987, Arnold was fucking blowing Stallone away. And by Terminator 2, he was the highest paid actor in the history of the world. And Arnold says he chalks that up not just to the fact that, he has this like once in a lifetime face and delivery and presence and all that, but the fact that he was so enthusiastic and so on his game about promoting the work. He did not feel pretentious about it at all. He's like, Hollywood is salesmanship and I'm the fucking best at it.
Wasn't there that thing in Demolition Man? I mean, it's so long. The only thing I remember is like Wesley Snipes, really. But there's that thing where there's like a Arnold Memorial Library or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Ahead of the times, like what were his politics? Because at the time, I just remember not really paying attention to it when he was doing his thing.
Well, it's interesting because Arnold, I think, he's such a natural right winger in a lot of ways. Like, he's like his dad was a Gestapo for one thing. He
Really?
has this like, his dad was in the Austrian Gestapo, and I think, and they had a very strained relationship. Arnold didn't even go to his funeral, etc. But beyond that, Arnold just has like this natural conservatism about him because he's genetically gifted athlete, like monster of success and ambition. And I think that's the mentality that he brought to politics, but at the same time, he married into the Kennedys, which are sort of the stand-in for decent American liberalism. So his first like half a term in California, he was kind of playing this like wingnut role where he'd do these like big press conferences of like shutting down Democrats and being like, fuck no, I'm not signing your bills. But he got a lot of pushback in the state. And and started to be called ineffective, and then his re-election chances were brought up. So then he very much consciously took on the role of the perennial down the line centrist, stable economic growth, and became basically world famous for state of the art environmental laws. He had the best rating for environmental laws in the whole country. So he ended up being basically just like I don't want to say a milquetoast liberal, but a pretty standard liberal in a lot of ways.
Yeah. But doesn't he kind of, I mean, I don't know too much about him. Oh, I mean, or his films, but seems to sort of exemplify the idea of the American dream, right?
100%.
Turns up in America and then makes it big, ends up governor of California, right?
And literally ends up marrying into the Kennedys.
Yeah.
You know, the guy has had a absolutely tough. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Pumping Iron, the bodybuilding doc that made him famous.
Oh, is that when he's got that line about my favorite part of the female body, the ass? Yeah.
Yeah, that part. He talks about how the pump is better than coming, all that shit. But it's an amazing documentary. Even if you're not into the sport, it's just like Arnold is so funny in this movie. He's just like, and you can see he's only like 24, but he's like exuding so much fucking charisma, charm, and humor that you're just like, there's no fucking way this guy isn't going to be the most famous person in history. Like, you know, there's these parts where he's talking about the psychological warfare. You would like this, Audrey. There's these parts he's talking about the psychological warfare tactics he wages on his bodybuilding opponents. And because everybody like in the sport worship him. He was #1 guy in the early 70s. So he talks about how this young, like ambitious bodybuilder went to Gold's Gym in Venice Beach and sought out Arnold for his advice. And Arnold didn't really have much respect for the kid. He thought he was a poser. So the kid asked Arnold, Arnold, I'm really trying to learn some really unique posing methods, posing routines that'll really set me apart. And Arnold, hoping it would ruin the kid's chances of having a career, told the kid, and he's like telling the story in such a hilarious way. He told the kid that the new thing is you're supposed to scream every time you strike a pose. So you like hit the front double biceps and you're like, ah! So he got this kid to do it in his first show, and the kid was disqualified and kicked out of the league. And Arnold's just telling the story, like cracking himself up. Truly like, you know, he's kind of a marches to the beat of his own drummer kind of guy, you know? He's kind of an artist in a lot of ways.
You talk about him with, you make him sound like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's like one of my fave peeps, you know, him. And for like athletes, it's like him and Conor McGregor. And I like the really like brash and loud and confident ones.
What's your favorite Arnold film?
Hard to say. I mean, I like him so much, but I would say Terminator 2, #1, Total Recall, #2,
Yeah.
and then Terminator 1, #3.
Yeah. Terminator 2 is, it's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
I'm kind of more into the Edward Furlong stuff, but like, that's like with his Public Enemy t-shirt and stuff. But that's a fucking brilliant film.
Yeah, and I just rewatched it recently. It was cool the way he stepped into, like, you know, because in the first movie, he's the movie monster, and then they just reconfigure him as the hero, so he gets to play this different, like, aspect of being an android or whatever. And then I love the, like, you know what's crazy is, like, all the fucking technology that has happened in the interim. The CGI in Terminator 2 looks way better than any of the shit today. You know?
I remember at the time that was like the big thing, wasn't it? Like the special effects were like the thing.
Yeah, state of the art. I mean,
Yeah,
the T-1000, it was just like, you know, when they like shoot him with the fucking rocket and he just kind of like blows up into like this large liquid. It's fucking crazy.
I
yeah,
love that T-1000 guy. He's amazing.
Yeah, he rules.
Could have chose any form, but he chose this cop that he killed. Right?
Yeah, he's a shape-shifting android. It makes no goddamn sense, but you just go with it because the movie overwhelms you with its logic to such a degree.
He could have been anything, but he chose that dead cop.
You know who else the T-1000 played? He was in The Sopranos.
yeah.
Really? Yeah. He was
in the sports store.
Exactly. The guy who was a degenerate gambler and really triggered Tony because Tony hated how happy-go-lucky he was. So Tony like really brought the hammer down on him in terms of collecting the fees.
His brother was in that really shit band, Filter. Do you remember them?
Oh, fuck yeah, I remember Filter. Hey man, nice shot.
Yeah, that was his brother.
Wow.
One of them was Richard Patrick and one of them was Robert Patrick, but I can't remember who's who.
I think Richard is the one from Filter.
Right.
Yeah, he was in Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah. They were like the next big thing. I remember like 98 or something, 98, 90. When I was at high school, I remember like they had loads of press, but they sounded so boring. I remember.
Yeah, it was just like it was an even more melodic industrial rock thing. There was a lot of that kind of stuff happening at the time.
I remember he got caught with Darcy from the Pumpkins when she was doing crack. I think she was arrested like in his car or something. I might have got the details wrong. But yeah.
No, it sounds about right. Billy never talks about Darcy anymore.
She's gone. Bridges burnt.
Yeah. They all have an interesting dynamic. When I went backstage to their show, like James Iha and Billy seem maybe like a little strained to a degree, but Billy and James Chamberlain are like they're like bros to the end.
They're like telepathic musically. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Whenever I see them play live, they're very strange. They can just, he knows what he's going to do. Well, vice versa.
Yeah.
Amazing. And Jimmy's fucking one of the best drummers in the world.
Oh man, is he good? I mean, they still sound so good in a live setting. Their sound is so well oiled.
Yeah.
It's a lot of bands like that though. Like, you know, people would like make complaints about where their records have gone, but you still see them in a live setting and they're still one of the best things. Like Metallica is another good example of this. Like no one cares about any new Metallica records really, but I saw them a couple of years ago at the Apollo, actually in Harlem. It was fucking amazing. It was like blisteringly loud and they're just like a well-oiled machine. Don't miss a note. I mean, that's the justification for keeping a rock and roll band going that long.
I still, well, you know, like I'm still a big Pumpkins fan. Like I still like that he's got that ambition to kind of all the other bands who get back together, like, you know, Pavement or like Pixies, they do nothing and apart from just get old in front of you. But like I like he's got the ambition that like he's still got that mission to
absolutely
do, you know, and I really admire that.
Oh yeah, and I like the new record. I like at least like half the songs on
It's
there.
got some great stuff. It's got some great stuff.
Yeah.
Metallica, I just saw his Lars Son's band.
Lars' son got a band.
Yeah, I might be wrong. I think both of them are his sons. Or maybe just one. But talk about a shit band. They supported Melvins. Oh no, I saw Melvins the other week and what are they called?
They opened for Melvins.
Taipei Houston. They're called Taipei Houston. It's like a two-piece. Yeah, bass and drums. awful. Yeah.
Audrey, do you ever go to any of these shows?
No, not really.
What have you been listening to?
I'm like Patrick Bateman, and I hate live music.
Just writing like elegant like 400 page tributes to Huey Lewis and the News and such.
I can only listen to Brian Ferry solo albums.
Oh yeah, those are good. I mean, I like the first few anyways.
No,
I went to see Sparks the other night.
Who'd you see?
Sparks.
Oh wow, how are they doing?
I'm a huge fan. I always go to see it. Really good. They're playing venues I saw them in a few years ago that were like half empty, and because they've had the renaissance with like the documentary and that thing with Adam Driver, they're kind of like the venues are like packed now, and they're just genuine weirdos.
Oh yeah,
Like they were great. They're really good. Like I mean, Russell's like healthier than I'll ever be. He's like he's 70s. I was like, I have a heart attack if I was dancing like that. Jesus.
yeah. I saw the Stones like God 6 years ago or so, and it was great. But I like every time Mick would do a kick or something, I was like, "Fuck, Mick, take it easy!" Like out there in the like audience, worried he's gonna break his fucking hip or something.
They'll have like gold plated defibrillators just off stage. It's fine.
Yeah, I actually haven't gone to many shows recently, but I saw Dominic wanted me to go see Cult of Youth last week because he put out their record, which was fine. But the opener was great. Christian Olsen, Alpharmania, Swedish power electronics artist that I've always really admired. I got to see him for the first time in the States, so that was pretty great.
I know the name. Yeah, Christian Olsen. Yeah, he's been here for a while.
Yeah. Oh, he's been going since the 90s. Survival Unit was his old group, and then he turned it into Alpharmania.
Survival. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and he's a really good visual artist. It's not as cliche as a lot of the power electronics stuff is, even though it has some of the, serial killers and fucking esoterica. But there's something very psychedelic about his music too.
I've never got into Cult of Youth. I've never. They seem connected with a lot of bands I like, but I've just never really given it a go. Are they what are they like folky?
Yeah.
Kind of thing? Yeah.
It's like a Brooklyn post-punk band doing like an approximation of neo-folk, but
yeah,
it sounds. I feel bad. Oh, fuck, it's really hard for me to go full throttle in what I think right now, because we have so many personal associations. I will say that I used to think they sounded like the Dropkick Murphys a little bit.
Wow. You can leave it there.
Yeah, but I think Dominic put out their last record, and it was a bit of an improvement, bigger in sound and psychedelic. Sean, the lead guy, is quite a talented musician, but I don't know. It was never my thing. The show was fucking packed, though. Absolutely packed.
Cool. I know you hate them. I went to see La Tigra as well.
Oh, nice.
If you would have hated, but I fucking loved it.
I know.
Yeah, I welled up. It's the first time they've been back together in like 18 years or something stupid like that.
Joanna Fateman writes for fucking Artform now.
Yeah. They were great. They were They do their thing for the people who like them.
Yeah. Exactly. That's for the fans, so to speak. But yeah, Michelle emails with Joanna sometimes trying to get her to write about her artists.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Before I get too off track, though, let's talk about both your books. Thomas, yours is a very interesting title, Your Dreams, which I like because it's like implicating the reader somehow. I read that in one sitting in the park, maybe like 3 weeks ago. Audrey, I am about 120 pages into your newest Counterillumination. Maybe before we just open up a broad discussion, why don't you guys individually talk about the books and the process of making them, and then we can go back to like a more cross dialogue.
Well,
After you, Audrey.
yeah, well, in terms of my book, I just started off with this weird sort of vision, which is hard to really articulate verbally, but I just had this idea. I was watching a lot of documentaries about like CIA conspiracy theories, mind control experiments, and all of these kind of supposed occurrences go, basically, experimental drugs, Manchurian candidates, sort of sex trafficking rings that
MK Ultra.
Yeah, and all of this kind of stuff. And I was visualizing some sort of novel that would somehow integrate all of this stuff, but at the same time was linking back to sort of like World War II and the Holocaust, and like these sort of like women who worked in concentration camps, and it all was like I was sort of weaving these bits together somehow and linking them, but really the book's just about various states of consciousness that a person could get into. Yeah, it's hard to explain really, because I put so many different strands into it, really.
Yeah, it's a great book to read very late, stoned on edibles while I'm sort of half falling asleep, because it's like the words kind of like tattooed to the brain or something, or it's like it's very psychedelic in a way. But you wrote this one line that,
because I wanted it to be psychedelic, in a book could be psychedelic.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I just wanted, before Thomas gets into his, I wanted to ask you one thing, because I jotted down this line. You write, "I don't care if I died, and that is a genuine superpower." And I was curious, are you unafraid of death? And do you find that to be an actual superpower?
Well, I mean, I suppose that says more about the mindset of the narrator at the time. So like when I wrote that, if I was inhabiting that consciousness, I probably really believed that at the time. So there are times where I could really not care. I'd like genuinely not be worried about anything at all, including like being guillotined or dying at the bottom of the ocean in a tiny coffin with a little window.
While you're just looking at the Titanic, minding your business.
Exactly. But I mean, on a more rational level, I mean, that you have the self-preservation instinct. So like presumably if I was about to die in some way, I probably wouldn't be that happy about it. But
not at the moment,
but definitely at the time I wrote it, I did believe that. I believed it at the time when I said it. And so it could be a superpower in the sense that this always goes back to stuff like Albert Camus, where he talks about the only serious philosophical question of suicide, or well, something to that effect. And if you're not afraid to die, then what else is there to be worried about? I mean, like, people talk about like running out of money, or getting sick, or being cancelled, or nobody buying your books, or whatever, I don't know, all of these catastrophic things that you could ruminate about. But if you genuinely don't care, then you're right back on like the edge, like the cutting edge. You can say and do exactly what you want because you don't care about the repercussions.
Absolutely.
To say like going out to deliberately like screw someone else over or whatever, but just in terms of like being your, such a cliche, but being like authentic, or whatever seems authentic in the moment. I don't know.
You know what's interesting is I do feel like I'm fairly courageous about many things. Like, I genuinely don't have any fear about what people say about me. I don't fear violence. I don't fear ostracization or anything, but I'm like, I am terrified of death, like big time. And I don't know, maybe it's just because it's like the one thing you can't really gauge in your mind. But there have been times late at night, you know, those sort of like sleepless nights where the thought of non-existence just crosses my mind, and I literally just get like jolted out of fucking sleep. I'm just like, oh my fucking God, I'm gonna be dead someday. Yeah.
I think I know what you mean, but then
It's
also
because it's the ultimate. It's like, it really is. If you don't fear death, you are fearless. That's why like the greatest soldiers conquer that fear before anything else.
it's also comforting to know that you're going to die in a way, because everyone great who's ever lived that you could possibly admire also died.
Yeah.
So whether like talking about like Caligula or Elvis or whoever, they're all dead, allegedly.
Caligula lives on in the spirit of all those who seek to transgress social norms.
Yes, death is like this unknown, like a rite of passage that you either like you go into like total annihilation.
Yeah.
And it's inevitable anyway right now, so I think it's better to embrace it rather than worry about it. I'm a morbid person though, right? I just like death and misery and crime and perversion, so yeah, I can't help it.
Absolutely. Thomas, so when I was reading your dreams, first thing that jumped out at me is I'm pretty sure one of the early scenes in the novel is like the first thing you like, first like story you relayed to me when we hung out for the first time in New York. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a funny one to talk about. I ended up rewriting it and setting that it wasn't originally in New York, but after the trip, it kind of, I think it made it was easy to write if I put a bit of distance between it and changed a lot of the details. So yeah, the scene with the guy who's been arrested. So yeah, it's kind of loosely or heavily based on a friend of mine who got arrested for child pornography, possession of, and committed suicide. Different to what kind of the events in the book, but it tied in with the stuff I was writing already, and kind of helped give a structure to a lot of stuff that I'd already written for the book, which is all about fantasies and the kind of difference between fantasy and reality, because sometimes it's really close and sometimes it's massively there's a massive difference between the fantasy and the reality, and the space between it is a lot more dense than people think it is, depending on what the fantasy is.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, your dreams, like you say, it was definitely, you know, the idea of implicating the reader, and implicating the writer as well. It's all to do with real and fake, and all to do with, like, you know, how a book's written and what goes into that, and, you know, what it's okay to think about and talk about, and what not. And the idea of I'm not going to talk about what happened with my friend too much, but it's with that was a side to my friend that I obviously didn't know about and had no idea about, and it's kind of obviously a massive part of someone who that I didn't know, and it made me think about, you know, if you know someone's kind of deepest and in some cases like darkest, in some cases not, you know, if you know their fantasies, you can kind of understand them a lot better, you become a lot closer to them. I remember I was at not a party, because I don't party. Well, I do party, but like I don't go to parties. I was taking drugs with friends one night, and we ended up talking about this stuff when we were like high on MDMA, and someone was talking about the weirdest things that turn them on, and like it was some of it was just really bizarre to me. You know, other people's fantasies can be as people's dreams are, you know, very strange to hear about. Often boring if someone's telling you their dream, because unless you're in the dream, it's never interesting. But someone was telling me about their fantasies, and I thought, this is like, in some ways it's a ridiculous fantasy, the one they told me, but also like it's legitimate because it's, you know, it's what turns them on, or what really interests them. And so it's like this deeper side to them that you know, in everyday conversation you're not going to get near. And because I'm always interested in how people communicate and talk, because a lot of the time you get nowhere with general conversation. You know, hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? I'm all right. Are you all right? Yeah. And that's like the preponderance of like fucking days, you know, in your life. But I think to have those kind of deeper, more honest things, if you can reveal things about yourself, you can kind of, I don't know, I guess I'm interested in kind of making myself vulnerable, and yeah, it's all to do with, yeah, trying to understand people in a way that you wouldn't really get near, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the book was quite moving, and I was really truly impressed with the way that you were writing about this friend in a way that didn't sugarcoat, but also really took this kind of non-judgmental perspective. Like it wasn't a character indictment or anything. Yeah, it was just like, yeah, because I think like what's kind of one of the bizarre things about the digital world is like dark secret fantasies used to be so interiorized, just like this completely like sub character. We all knew that everybody has them, but sometimes they were totally occulted, even from ourselves. But the internet itself is basically like a projection board for perversion and fantasy. So in a way, like your algorithm can kind of like tell the story of your own fantasies in a way. And if you have like a fantasy like friend who was you know, who was waiting in criminal territory or whatever, you can like actually leave a documented record of like the darkest part of yourself, which is moving, but it's also kind of a fucking terrifying thought.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's definitely not like, I'm not into I say I'm not into the judgment of it. Obviously what he did was fucked, and I don't you know, I'm not into what he was doing, and but part of me is like, did he choose to have those things? Did he choose to have those thoughts? And then it's, the thing is like, when does it become wrong? Is, you know, if he's got those thoughts, who knows why he's got them or where they've come from. When you act on it, or how you choose to act on those things, if you do, that's the kind of
that's the criminal act. Well, that's
Yeah.
there's that brilliant scene in Nymphomaniac Part 2, when she's like a debt collector, and she's like sucking the guy off and trying to figure out what his kink is. And she talks about women, doesn't work, he doesn't get hard. And she talks about men, he doesn't get hard. And then she brings up this scenario where he's like walking into a playground and sees a child, and he gets like rock hard, and then she sucks him off. And then the Stellan Skarsgård character. What's that?
Is it on the train?
No, this is in the second part when she's working for Willem Dafoe as a debt collector, and this guy owes money, and she's trying to figure out how she can break this guy, and she's using his sexuality against him. But then when she's telling the story to the Stellan Skarsgård character, he goes, "How in the hell could you suck this guy off? He's a pervert." And she says to him that she felt genuinely sorry for him because he had, she said, she made the point, the vast majority of pedophiles never act on their desire. They're just forced to live this life of disconnecting themselves from the most like prominent desire of a human person. And hats off to Lars von Trier, because you sure as fuck are not going to see that kind of sentiment in most films. But it always kind of stuck with me to a degree, because the ones who end up in prison are the sickos who like actually hurt kids, but we know that that's not like, that can't be all of them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's it. And like as well, like part of a non-judgment is you don't need me to tell you how you feel about things, as a reader will kind of get their own reaction to it. And there's been lots of different reactions to it from people I've spoke to. But also, like, talking about online, that's where the there's the stuff about Guru stuff, which I've never been into myself. And like I always found it quite I think like as visual art, it just doesn't, it's not my style. I find it very kind of just dumb to look at. It's not pleasing for me. But what I did find interesting is like, what have they got in their mind when they're looking at this stuff? Because I kind of think it's something more than the cartoons. There's something deeper there for these people. And so just trying to work out where things come from with people is it's just really interesting to me.
The anecdote about the wolves in your book was quite interesting.
Yeah.
So I found that quite strange.
Yeah, that was from someone I know. Someone who's a really, really smart, cool person who they were telling me that she or he or whoever they were saying like they're into like hentai and stuff. Is it? I think it's called hentai.
Yeah. Japanese shit.
Yeah, and they said they really got off on that. That really surprised me, because I just so then I watched a bit of it.
Well, Facebook keeps recommending me this stuff for some reason. Like these comics that were literally like, I fancy my teacher, I want to sleep with him. Like scrolling through my news feed, as you do, like when you haven't got anything better to do, and they would just show me these ads for Japanese sort of borderline perverted things about weird. So I was like, thanks for that, Facebook.
It's the algorithm second guessing you.
Yeah. I was like, okay.
This person was talking about like something they'd watched with like tentacles and monsters destroying this person sexually, and they found it erotic. I looked at some of that stuff online, as research for a book, and I just could not find a way inside it. I didn't think it was sexy. I didn't think it was interesting. I didn't think it was visually very well done. But the fact that this person had a connection to it, I found that interesting. And trying to work out why that connection would happen and what the seeds for something like that would be with someone. And again, it's not judging it, because it's like, you know, I've done far too many fucked up things to judge anyone for anything.
Dude, I've been really into this artist and filmmaker, Kiyotaka Zurasaki. He's like a journalist in a lot of ways, but like he's like borders contemporary art and journalism. He did this like incredible series of photographs about cartel murders. This film is like a long video collage of drug crime scenes, and it's all set to the doom metal Japanese band Corrupted. You both would really like this stuff. But I got another one of his DVDs, not knowing what it was. And the only time I ever watch like really extreme shit is late at night when I think Michelle is sleeping, because she's not into it. So I turned this other one on, and I really didn't know what it was, but it turned out to just be like a really disgusting porno movie. And so I'm like kind of flicking through it, hoping she doesn't notice. And next thing I know, one woman is performing analingus on another woman. And Michelle's like, what the fuck? I'm like, it's an art film. And the next thing I know, the woman is like covered in the other lady's shit. I'm like, oh, fuck me. And I had to turn it off. And honestly, I don't find any of that shit appealing at all. Like anything with feces and like, even like if it's performance art, like I can deal with a lot, you know, but anything involving shit or anything, I'm just like, you're fucking disgusting. You deserve to be put in prison. Enough of this.
Thinking of that scene in Pasolini's Salo, where they have the dinner, and like there's just a porcelain plate with X on it.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it makes a lot of sense in that film, because it's like, if I was going to give anything a pass on it, I'd give Pasolini a pass, because I know kind of the point he's trying to make. They're trying to make a point about like what like ultra political power over another actually is capable of. But if it's just like, you know, some fucking goofball on stage trying to shock people and like taking a shit everywhere, I'll straight up call the cops. I don't give a fuck.
Criminalize that deviant.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and also it just kind of seems passe at this time. Like it's not that shocking anymore. It's just kind of gross.
Yeah, I've never been into poop.
Definitely not.
Not my thing.
Not your forte.
I mean, like porn generally doesn't. Porn's never really done it for me either, because it's as in like proper porn, like because it's staged, and it's like the fakeness of it is kind of I've found in various points, but like I've never been able to like sexually kind of get off to like actually, you know, porn made stuff. Like
that's interesting.
It's probably different for me, but like in terms of watching like something from a company that someone's made with actors, like it's the most unerotic thing I can think of.
Now I'm thinking of that guy in like the Voyeur's Motel, and he had his own motel and he just used it to spy on couples. And wasn't there like a series on Netflix about that?
I think you're correct. I vaguely remember catching a glimpse of an episode.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty convoluted.
Yes, Gay Talese wrote a book about this guy or some shit.
Yeah, but you know, you got to have a hobby, right? He had his passion. He fulfilled his dream, and
yeah, he just took the voyeuristic tendency towards its logical conclusion.
Yeah. But I mean, I say that as a woman, and I've been riding like the London Underground, you know, the metro, and had like weird guys like exposing themselves to me occasionally, things like that. So very bizarre.
That'd be a curious thing to get into in a second. But I just wanted to stay on porn for a second because I got a lot to say about the subway. But yeah,
Anyway.
there's certain scenarios in pornography that always work on me. Primarily, I love, this is so boring and vanilla in a lot of ways, but I love the stepsisters scenarios.
You know, that's one of, like the most popular searches apparently. I was looking when I was researching for the book, like stepsister and stepmother are like,
Right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me because I actually think a lot of my I think one of my like first profound glimpses of sexual awareness was Sarah Michelle Gellar's performance in Cruel Intentions. And she's like Ryan Phillippe's stepsister. And I remember I won't get too into the gory details, but there's a scene where she's like gyrating on his lap and like sexually taunting him, and she looks fucking amazing. And I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of boring hetero dudes had also watched that scene at some point and are now just like obsessed with stepsister scenarios. Because it is kind of like a boring, common fantasy. Like your parents get remarried and you got the stepsister. It's so confusing. She's not really your sister, blah, blah, blah. You know?
Not like a blood relation. So
No,
therefore,
yeah.
eligible technically, but
Yeah, it's like frowned upon, but not like, it's not going to
so
create like it's not going to create like any mental problems in the kids or anything. You know? It's not really like a taboo. It's more just like a socially construct. It's a social construct.
have you
What
seen
about
V?
you? Say
Sorry,
what?
have you seen V? It's like the American version of a UK show, The Thick of It.
No.
It's got what's her face out of Seinfeld, and she's like the vice president.
Oh, V, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, and
I'll be
there's
right
that
back.
Jonah guy in that, and he marries his stepsister.
Oh,
And they're trying,
yeah.
yeah, and they're trying to use that against him as like a political. It just made me think of that. Yeah, yeah.
Audrey, do you watch
watch. Do I watch?
pornography? Should we not ask you that? I feel like I gotta have to involve you in the conversation.
It's a loaded question, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
no right answer. I can't give the correct answer. If I say yes or no, both of them are the wrong answer. Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, yeah, like most people, you know, you have the internet. You know, like when you're like 12 years old, you just type in Google boobs or penis or something. You see a million and one things.
Things.
I mean, and also it's like people you know, I remember like people just show me stuff at random.
Yeah.
You couldn't avoid it even if you were trying to. So it's like ubiquitous. Yeah, I don't know. So it's there. What I find weirdly interesting about this whole thing is that there will be men and women who are totally famous, right? Or would even be like household names who are known, you know, they're recognizable by, you know, millions of people, if not, well, hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And yet they're never on television. They'd never be in the newspaper. They'd never be anywhere. Do you know what I mean? But they're famous because of the internet, because of like the movies and the photos they've been taking. It's like an underworld of celebrity, right? So I was thinking of people who like people do cross over, like Sasha Grey, who's like the obvious example, right?
Yeah.
I'm not really
Jesse
acquainted.
Andrews.
Yeah, I'm not really acquainted with their work, but again, it's like the ubiquitousness of it. It's like you can't escape from them even if you wanted to. It's like the Kardashians or something. Like I've never watched an episode of the Kardashians, but somehow know who they are, somehow hear about them all the time, and I would never watch it, or but it's there.
Yeah, of course.
Do
Yeah,
I
they're
say
fucking.
they're prostitutes? No, but you know, I don't
Kim Kardashian's probably the most famous person in the world.
thinking the Kardashians into like porn star territory or something. I don't know, but that was
She
unintentional.
did have a sex tape, didn't she?
Yeah, it's super vanilla.
Right.
I've seen it. Yeah.
It's funny
She's
about
like,
being ubiquitous. Sorry, Audrey said about porn being ubiquitous. And I guess it is now because it's like anything, everything is readily available now, in terms of culture. But like when I was growing up, I'm that kind of funny age that is just when I was a kid, we didn't have the internet. So I'm 40 now, so I'm just the internet came in as a thing as I hit kind of teenage years.
right.
But we have like one computer in a classroom at school that you could use to go on the internet. So it wasn't like I could easily get porn and things. Like I remember a guy bought a porn magazine to school, and it was like this big deal because it was people could see this stuff, and that was like a rare thing at the time. But I also think I don't know whether just being like the sort of deviant old style homosexual that I am, I think that I don't know if that desensitizes you, but I've been trying to think why porn doesn't turn me on. I think it's because
I think it's because it's unerotic.
it is. It is. I wonder if I was just desensitized. Just yeah. If someone's
Well,
not feeding, if it's not real, it doesn't.
it's almost like everything is porn and nothing is erotic. You know, like think about the amount of actresses now who will like waltz around a red carpet with their tits out and their ass hanging out, but will like refuse to do a sex scene, or um like will refuse to show their tits on camera. Like it's like we're in a very bizarre place in culture that is hyper pornified, but absolutely absent real sex. I was reading. Yeah, go ahead, Audrey.
Cultures who are like, people who are living in the middle of the Amazon rainforest or wherever, who just walk around naked. And that's not a problem because I don't know if it, or somehow they haven't sexualized their own bodies, or I don't know what's going on there, but like women will quite happily walk around topless, and that's not a big deal. It's not seen as a weird thing to do at all. But if somebody walked around the middle of New York or London or Paris with topless, it would be considered unusual, if not
Yeah.
shocking, provocative or whatever, but it would be offensive to some people. But then like it's the human body, so it's like you're born naked. So
Yeah.
Is childbirth pornographic? If it turns somebody on, maybe. It's weird, right?
Well, porn is like a kind of flattening effect in a lot of ways. It's like it's like a mechanic, it's purely about stimulation towards an orgasm, as opposed to eroticism is much more complex. And I think like a tribal culture where nudity is hyper permitted, it's not like sex doesn't exist. You still see a naked body and there's a good chance you want to fuck it. But if you don't have all these fucking endless pontifications about what sex is and what sex's role, if you just accept it as part of being a human being, then you lose so much of that negativity around it, right? So you can be free in your body, be free in your sexuality. And it is just what it is. Whereas, you know, we've had Western modernity now pontificating about sex, is it wrong, is it right, etc., for thousands of years now. So I don't know, like I don't know if you can ever really take away, like you know, because our bodies are, you know, we have a reproductive imperative, and you know, we're a biological imperative, and you know, we're born to fuck, and you know, we're nature's creatures. It's just like we've turned sex into a discourse. It never just exists as it is. It's always an image. It's always am I explaining this right? I don't even fucking know. It's just like, yeah.
I'm just wondering, this is a bit of a random question, but just like thinking about, yeah, I guess you're talking about like the cultural baggage that's attached to sexuality and things.
Yeah.
Just like with your with your like bodybuilding stuff, is there a sexual side to that in terms of, because it's so much about the body, is like
absolutely, there's a fucking like surely a latent homosexuality to bodybuilding. I think it's unavoidable to an extent. Like that's another reason why you'd love pumping iron, you know, because it's these guys, they're all straight and they all have tons of girlfriends and whatnot. But then they're in the gym together and they're like, damn, Arnold, your chest is looking fucking huge, man. He's like, you like this one, boys? Like, and it's innocent, but it's like not at the same time. Like it can't be totally innocent, even if they want it to be. It's like, you know, bodybuilding is a very clear example of how we all sort of live on a spectrum. But at the same time, it's like it isn't like purely sexual, because I do also think a lot of it is about aspiration and inspiration and things like that too. But I also just think like when you're so obsessed with perfecting the body, there is a sexual element to it for sure.
Hmm.
do you feel more sexual since you've become more built?
Well, okay. Yeah, when I'm on a steroid cycle, Michelle says the sex is slightly better. You know, I'll just say that. Big fucking heaving erections. But honestly, like I don't think it's that drastic. Like I don't feel the mood fluctuations and things like that, or like the hypersexual behavior that some people report about taking some compounds. I haven't really experienced, not to the point where it's been a problem in my life. Just like a boost in virility, confidence, energy, all that shit.
Yeah, the confidence part of it, because I think confidence has a lot to do with sexual attraction. For me, anyway, like I kind of like people who physically wouldn't be my type, if there's a certain confidence to them, they become attractive. And similar with myself, like I'm like, I mean, I'm a fat ass old queer now, but like the older I've got, the more happy and confident I've been with myself, the more attractive people have found me, bizarrely, over, you know, as I've got more confident. It's, yeah.
Yeah, for me, like it was, and it when I first started really getting back into training and such, it wasn't driven so much about like wanting to look a certain way. It was just that I was feeling some degradation in my body, and I was, you know, because I was a competitive athlete till I was about 26, and you know, it was always something I was very proud of and disciplined about. And then I fucked myself up with drugs, and I sort of lost it. So when I tried to get back into it, you know, 7 years later, slightly out of shape, like the same amount of work, you know, working so hard, seeing fractions of the results and just being in so much fucking pain. So I said, fuck it, I'm just going to start taking performance enhancing drugs. and fully get back into it. In fact, we got it. That's a vial of testosterone right there. Good shit.
What do you have to inject it, or what? How does it
Yep.
work?
Yep. You shoot it right into the butt with a 1-inch needle.
That's completely straight.
It's very heterosexual.
Yeah, totally straight. Yeah.
Is that like, as it like a former addict, does that like satiate? Do you enjoy having like the paraphernalia of that sort of thing? So I remember
do.
like the Breeders, the band. I remember one of them knits scarves because she misses having like heroin needles, and so like she said she needs things to fiddle with, and she likes having a kit of like wool and knitting needles. So
That
is that
makes a
similar
lot of
to
sense
you?
to me. That makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense to me. Yeah. Like I absolutely like the ritual of it. You know, I wake up, take all my multivitamins, and then depending on what day it is, spike up the testosterone, the growth hormone, whatever. Growth hormone's a bit easier because it's just you get to use an insulin needle, so it's only that small, and shoot it into your abdomen. The testosterone or like the intramuscular drugs are a bit more painful. And there's like, I used to go into my quads. Actually, you know how we did that fucking music video for the botch stratification? So yeah, we did that on kind of short notice, but I wanted to get as elite in shape as possible because I'm like basically I'm just in a loincloth the whole fucking movie. So I went on a crash diet for like 3 weeks to just like cut all the water. So I went from like 205 to 185 in 3 weeks. And then on the last day, the day right before is when I was starting up a new steroid cycle. And I was kind of out of practice, I guess. So I forgot to flick the air bubbles out of the needle. And I shot a big fucking air bubble right into my goddamn quad. So in the video, it'll probably be slightly noticeable because one leg looks like fucking super defined and the other one is just like exploded and inflamed outwards from the swelling. Health and fitness, though. It's all about staying healthy.
Wow. I guess it's like ritual then as well, isn't it? The whole.
Oh, it's absolutely ritual. And I genuinely love training. Like, you know, I always have. I did when I was younger, lost sight of it in my early 30s, but it's the only thing that brings me, besides like when I can get on a real good kick with writing or whatever, it's the only thing that kind of brings me to that meditative state that I feel like all people need to get from somewhere.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's a personal trainer and he does these like 25-mile runs with like, you know, he's like 6'6", this huge guy. He does these he'll run for 30 miles with a bag of rocks or things.
Jesus.
Yeah, like he's like super. We're very different characters, but we like I was talking to him about that, what he gets from it, and it's like he was talking about this. The way he described it sounded exactly what I get from when I'm full into writing. That meditative, that like inner silence thing.
Yeah.
Well, another thing too is I find it beneficial to have goals and interests outside of art, you know, because like art is what I do, but it's nice to have other things to like think about and occupy my mind with: bodybuilding, UFC, whatever, like things that can just be like mine that I don't really share as much, you know. But do you guys find that you need that at all? Interests outside your like work?
I'm like totally like one-dimensional woman. Just purely, and that's it. There's nothing else. There's nothing else in my life. I've never been in I've never been to the gym, so like hearing about your sort of like working out and things is it's like a new thing for me to hear about.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just like to purely focus on writing, and then if I'm not doing that, then I don't know, I don't really have any other hobbies. Like I watch movies or I walk around and try and clear my brain, like reset my brain by just walking and walking and walking for miles. And then I don't really have any other life. Yeah. Sad. It's sad.
No, we all do exactly what's best for us. But yeah, this friend of mine, Garen, he's Armenian. He made the point to me that he thought it because he hadn't seen me in a while, and I'm like, if I am like I'm much wider, bigger, and leaner than I was like a year ago. He was like, it's cool. It's kind of like your version of Hemingway's boxing or like Duchamp in chess. That's how I kind of think it. I'm like, it's integrated in there somehow. And I actually plan on writing. I don't want to get too much into the details, but I have an outline for a horror novel set in the IFPB Professional Bodybuilding League that I'm dying to write.
Will it be like body horror then? Some kind of no.
Yeah. It's gonna be, let's just say there's a new drug involved that has amazing anabolic results, but very, very disturbing mental side effects. That's basically the idea. And the main character is going to be like an elite pro who has always been in the top 10, but never won the big one. So he's at this point where he's like, he wants it, but he also feels like he should retire. And then this new drug comes along. That'd be a good place to let's talk about that actually. Drugs. You mentioned morphine in the book, Audrey.
Yeah.
Do you ever experiment with writing on drugs?
I wish I could say that I did, like right when I was high off my face or something. But for me personally, the drugs that I like to take are the ones that just chill me out.
Yeah.
So for me, preferably, I take opiates or benzos or something, or I'd smoke a bit of weed. I just want to chill out. I don't want to take anything like Coke that's going to speed me up. That just scrambles my brain a bit too much. I need to relax, I'm already like totally neurotic. So if I do drugs, I want to just relax, chill out, not do much, look out of the window or whatever.
Are you able to do opiates in moderation? Because I'm not. My backstory. If I take one pill, I'll be fucking shooting grams of heroin by Sunday.
I do have a weird kind of discipline, and that I can sort of I could ration things out properly. But again, that's also because I wanna do my writing, and I found out that I can't write when I'm on drugs for some reason.
Yeah.
Like if I've taken something, I can't work. The only thing that works for me in terms of writing is I need coffee.
Oh, of course.
I need coffee, and I need some form of sugar, like donuts. Whatever, I'm constantly, that's my thing. I mean, I couldn't even write when I was vaping because it speeded me up too much. And I think I've got like some kind of I don't know whether it's my metabolism or, you know, blood chemistry or whatever, but I'm just too sensitive.
Yeah.
So if I take too many, like if I vape too much, I won't be able to sit still. I'd be like, so yeah, but unfortunately or fortunately, I can't work when I'm high. So, and I need to be in a very specific zone. And, you know, I've written some very weird things when I've been a little bit off my face, but it was funny, but it wasn't anything I could really use, right? I mean, it just had like a novelty value that was kind of amusing, but it's not something that I don't think anyone would actually want to read it because they've been, you know, the quality control and everything. So yeah, and also I find that my brain makes the best connections as I'm writing. My brain is constantly firing in different directions and bringing in new images everywhere as I'm going along. And if, you know, if I was high or whatever, my brain won't do that anymore. My brain would just be like, yeah.
Tendency towards overstimulation.
Yeah, my brain will just like enjoy doing nothing, and I'll get to a point where I'm like, I don't even need to work anymore. This doesn't, you know, I'll be so zen that I'll be happy never to be anything or do anything, right? Everything just like, you know what I mean? It just, everything just starts to peel away. And you're just sitting there like, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy here. I need to have a little bit of neurosis and a tiny bit of discomfort to be able to write, I think. I need to have something to complain about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love moaning. I love moaning. I like moan about everything. That's my bad habit. It's like negativity, complaining.
You and Billy Bragg should start a duo. The complainers.
I don't know. I mean,
What about you, Thomas? Do you ever write on drugs or just about them?
I can't write unless I'm totally sober and totally straight-headed. Apart from coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to try when I was drinking. But I've got a funny relationship with drugs, really. I've got a really addictive personality.
Same.
But I'm able to do things in moderation apart from alcohol. Like alcohol was the thing for whatever reason. Like it's 15 years now since I've stopped drinking. That was like a genuine like issue with a problem with drinking, but and I will take stuff from time to time, but I can like limit it. So if I have like a crazy night, I won't do it again the next day. Because of writing. I am really disciplined with the writing, but it's always uppers for me. It's strange because like I don't know why, because I'm a pretty chilled out, you know, person, but like
I think that's why though.
It's weird stuff like coke kind of sometimes levels me off, and actually that can sometimes it makes me feel wired and you know, but sometimes that actually does make me feel really chilled in a nice way. It kind of slows other stuff down in a weird way, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't think it's why people take coke really, but a lot of the time that really does chill me out.
Well, it definitely provides like, I mean, if it's good coke, you can provide like a clarity of thought, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. God, I have such like a dark relationship with drugs that it's hard for me to think about them positively at all, because all of the worst parts of my life are directly related to hard drug abuse. Yeah, basically every single one. That said, I don't write on drugs ever. I just think I have too much, because I'm not just writing long books. I have to manage a media project. I have to do this show. I have columns and magazine fucking duties. Like, it's just like a lot to keep track of. And sometimes I have to answer to others in a way that drives me fucking nuts. So I always have to be working on something. Like if anything's
So,
like, yeah, like if anything's like distracting me from like doing like long books that I'm proud of, it's just like like fucking duties of just like, because this is how I fucking make money, you know.
yeah.
But I do go through phases, I would say, that are informed by drugs. Like the beginning, when I right before I started really getting into writing True Faith, the new one, I was heavily into ketamine. And somehow the dissociative insights provided by that drug informed the book in like I'd say the first 100 pages of the book are so much darker than everything after, because to me ketamine's like a very demonic drug. I don't know how people say like I'm getting fucking advertisements for it on Instagram about people going to like new age ketamine therapies for dealing with depression. I have no fucking clue how that works, because that drug makes me see the world in a very dark light.
Regret him in.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've had okay, so this one fucking time I was at a party at my friend's gallery, 15 Orient. They have this great bar downstairs that they sort of absorbed when they rented the space. It's a great place to hang out late night. And my friend Raph, who you guys know, he gave us the space for the reading. Him and I were just like ripping lines of ketamine. And God, I remember this girl, this German girl came up to me, and it was the funniest fucking thing ever because she was wearing a COVID mask. She comes up to me and she says, "Hey, can I have a line of your drugs?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then she takes the mask off, takes up my rolled up 20, sticks it in her fucking nose, does the line, and then puts the COVID mask back on. It was amazing. But then I did another line. And okay, so all I remember is the entire room, all of a sudden, it lost form, meaning. Like I could see everything, but I had no words to attach to anything. Just like, I guess it was like a full-blown K-hole or whatever. And then I went to the bathroom, and the bathroom has these like refracted mirrors. There's a mirror on the ceiling, and a mirror on the left, and a mirror on the right. So I look up and I see this image of a man, me, like stretching out to infinity. It was like the most existential fucking image I've ever felt in my life. Got out of the bathroom, fell over, and everyone's like, "Are you okay?" Like they rushed over to me, and I'm looking at all these faces, and all I see is like demonic visages before me. And then I'm like, they're like, grab his phone. Like Raph's like, try and call Michelle. I'm trying to dial her fucking number or bring up her name on my phone. And I can't, like, I don't even have like the motor skills to like do anything with the phone. And then the phone started looking just like this like glowing orb, like magical demonic orb. And I fucking threw it across the room. Anyways, it's a long story. It was fucking horrible and turned me off that drug for just about ever. Haven't done it since. But I would say that like having that experience did inform writing somehow. So maybe it's like less about writing on drugs than like how these drugs, like different states of consciousness, etc., can inform the work while you're doing it.
Yeah, there's definitely a case that we should be allowed to explore these other modes of consciousness, because they do exist. So there's a case to be made that a lot of drugs should just be legal, at least so that you can try them out in like an appropriate setting. Yeah, I mean, I personally wouldn't like to take drugs outdoors. Like I prefer to take drugs at home
Yeah.
in my own comfortable space, where I'm relaxed. I wouldn't necessarily want to be outside amongst crowds of people when I was high or something. So
My
Absolutely.
friends, we used to take I don't take like hallucinogenic stuff at all anymore because I had a really horrible time the last time I took acid in like 2008. And
Wow.
it was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And I can still remember it. It was awful. But like around that time we used to do like stuff like that with mushrooms and like the group who I used to do that stuff with, we take stuff and they'd be like, let's go for a walk. And I'd be like, you fucking crazy, no? So they would go for a walk. I would stay inside for like 2 hours and like build a little fortress around myself with books or whatever. I remember when they'd gone out to like walk. They came back in, they found me like, and we're all tripping our balls off. And I'd used all my friends' CD cases to build a little barricade around myself. They came back in and they were like, we just saw like a dead cat in a field being eaten by flies. And I'm like, fuck you, this is why I stayed inside.
Yeah, why would you tell me about this? Yeah, I've had some really horrible experiences with both acid and mushrooms. Good ones, also some really bad ones. It's just when acid goes bad, it goes fucking bad. And it lasts so fucking long.
Yeah. Yeah, the last one I just couldn't I'd forgotten how to speak and I couldn't even think in words. I just knew that everything was wrong and everything was my fault.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you go into this like mental war because you have this part of yourself who's still telling you it's just a drug, it'll fade off, and then it instantly kind of fades away, and then the madness kind of rises back to the fore. Yeah, I never understood like Grateful Dead fans who can like take acid every fucking day, like following the Grateful Dead around the country. But I think that's actually kind of a fallacy in a lot of ways. Like my friend Zach Davis, his uncle is like a lifetime Deadhead roadie, and he's not doing so good. So maybe the whole like I mean, even Jerry Garcia is kind of a mirage in a lot of ways because his whole happy-go-lucky demeanor was actually undercut by the fact that he was like a junkie, a CIA agent, a woman beater, etc. Did you know that, Audrey, about Jerry?
No, because I'm not familiar with his work.
No, I've never heard them. I don't think
I
they're.
know who they are. I know them, but I don't know them. Yeah.
Very complicated band because they're simultaneously awful and yet they had moments of genuine brilliance. So I've
Like,
always
Menopause.
yeah, exactly. Another thing I wanted to ask you guys while we're all here catching up. Are you guys worried about AI in writing?
Not right now. Not right now, because I probably would be if I was one of those people who wrote really sort of traditional, boring books.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Then I might be in trouble, but like anyone who sort of works outside of the box and sort of uses their brain, I don't think they have to worry about that right now. Not right now, anyway. Because I don't think the experience I've had with AI, sort of like just messing around, hasn't And I've tried to manipulate things like ChatGPT and make it break its own rules and make it write total filth and things like this just for fun.
Make it be racist.
Oh, whatever. Just make it write.
I've definitely not tried that.
No, most of the prompts that I put into ChatGPT, for example, they would say, "Sorry, we can't do that for you. I am a machine. I cannot do that for you." And you can kind of try to work around it, but it won't really come up with anything that isn't just a total cliche.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
like, if you wanted to write a children's book or something like that, I'm pretty sure that within like 3 months, all of those books children's books will be written by a computer. And they would just be like, sort of like, how people personalize birthday cards and things like that. People will be making little videos starring avatars of themselves or whatever, and that just sounds really unappealing, but children would like it.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the way, like, a certain kind of literature is written.
Yeah, I think like workhorse writers are fucked. Like I think TV writers are fucked. Because TV, especially, like you're supposed to have a showrunner, a creator of the show, who's like the auteur, and then they just fill out the staff with people to manufacture micro stories, micro narratives within the broader narrative of the show creator. But what if the show creator could just like fill that staff with just AI, just to like fill out the fucking bullshit plot lines, which is what TV writers do, it's probably very economical. So like when I saw that they were having their little their boycott, or no, what are they doing? They're doing a worker strike.
Writer's strike, yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me that they would be very concerned about that, because they are ultimately kind of replaceable in a lot of ways. And that's always sort of like the thing they don't want to talk about, is that the job they do could be performed by this technology.
But the source material for the technology in the first place is presumably like stuff that already exists. So it's literally just regurgitating itself. Like I read an article accidentally the other day. You know how when you're scrolling through and things pop up in your feed and you accidentally read them?
Yeah.
Without meaning to, because that's just how your brain works. And one of them said that AI has started regurgitating AI. So therefore the quality of everything has just gone completely out of the window. Like they said in the beginning, it would occasionally come up with like strangely curious or absurd or surreal things that you think that's quite interesting. But that's because it was pulling from original source material. But then I guess it would go into a loop, and then it will just regurgitate more of itself, and then it will end up being very peculiar. And
I think there's a more terrifying philosophical insight here, though, which is that the reason AI could replace so many of these jobs is because people are already fucking robots.
Well, they're like the philosophical Zimbos or whatever it is.
Yeah. Like
they're like literally golems or something.
Exactly. Like, and if everybody is already so fucking programmed, but they're flawed programs, why wouldn't the people who run the world be more interested in replacing them with perfect programs, or like whatever? I was talking about this with a friend recently, because I personally am not like worried. Like I don't have enough like money to lose by, like, we're in like such a niche space anyways, Like I'm able to collect whatever 35K from Substack, 25K from fucking Patreon, and that gets me by. But like if you look at like the Time 100, every single year I sort of torture myself and look at the Time magazine top 100 books of the fucking year. And first of all, I have no idea what any of these fucking books are half the time. No clue what the writers are. And the names of a lot of these writers sound fake. Like they just don't sound, I don't know how to say this without sounding like an asshole, but they just sound like they're made up, and they're like flattering the text, or like they're flattering the titles of the book somehow. So if so much of that stuff seems fake and programmed and manufactured anyways, I think that we've already kind of opened the path for something actually like for like Skynet to take over or whatever.
Yeah, I've not really dabbled very much with it. I got like an app on my phone, like an AI app, and I was trying to think of like a mainstream writer who I like. There's not many. The only one I could think of like is like Bret Easton Ellis is like a mainstream writer who I do really admire. And I said to it, write a paragraph in the style of Bret Easton Ellis to see what it did, and it kind of came up with this chunk of text, and it's obviously got that source material there. I mean, it's got all like the signifiers of Bret Easton Ellis. So it was talking about some teenagers driving in a red car down the Pacific Highway. Charlie's wearing Wayfarers and smoking a cigarette. Trees and feeling bad from the party, but it was like this kind of strange. You could definitely see it was obviously they got that source material, but it lacked like any like nuance or like I say, like writers like us, I don't think I have anything to worry about for now.
No.
And Bray says it didn't really. It lacked like the heart or whatever of his stuff. But if you really, the more formulaic you are, like I guess Hollywood scripts and things, that must be like a superhero film must be easy to do.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that movie that just won the fucking Oscar was AI. The script was AI produced.
What was that?
Exactly. No one even fucking knows what this movie is. But basically, honey, what's the movie that won Best Picture? The Asians. It's like
It's everything everywhere all at once.
Everything everywhere all at once. All right, so I watched like 10 minutes of this movie. It's fucking unwatchable. It's like multiverse. It's like this Asian woman is in multiple dimensions and timelines. It's awful, but it's sort of used like Asian identity politics and apparently ChatGPT script writing to win an Oscar. But like it doesn't, nobody cares what wins the fucking Oscars anymore. But it was a minor controversy just because everybody thought Tar should have won. But I knew it wasn't going to win because they don't actually award anything good. What's that?
Oh, right.
I kind of lost my train of thought. So yeah, but yeah, that movie sucks. I think there will be a subsect of the mainstream or whatever that certainly will use this technology to get rid of jobs and pay people less, get rid of some overhead. Curious, and we can probably end it soon. But did you read The Shards, Thomas?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you like it? Yeah, I loved it.
I really liked you wrote something about it that I really agreed with. Your I can't remember, did you write it on Substack or?
I just had a little Twitter thread about it, I think.
Maybe it was that, yeah, but you summed it up really well. I thought it was because I really like Imperial Bedrooms. That's one of my favorite ones he's done.
I like it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that one doesn't get, I think all his all the best stuff he does generally gets ignored. Well, not ignored because he's super famous, but in comparison to American Psycho and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's
He's
best when
probably
he's sorry.
he sets such a high standard with his first few novels that, you know, I think if anyone else came out with his books, they'd say, wow, this person's a genius. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because he's already done it, somehow he's not being appreciated enough. He's sort of
Well,
for granted, isn't he?
what was
And
interesting about the reception of the shards, though, is they all the usual suspects, like literary critics, wanted to hate it. Like IndieWire was like, you know, because they consider him a problematic white man now. But the shards, I think, and they're like complaining about like grammar and spelling. Like, who fucking cares? Like, shut the fuck up. Shut up. But anyways, but I think, you know, most of the reviews were quite positive because there was something very moving about it.
Yeah,
mm,
really, really got to me. Yeah, beautiful.
Did you read it, Audrey?
no, not yet. But
Mm.
it's on my list. It's on my list of things that I have to get hold of. So
Well worth it. It's like it feels he just really knows what he's doing, and he's just so talented. And he gets kind of obscured by the cartoon version of himself, but like
mm,
he's a writer. It's so like I think his stuff never gets the credit for being as beautiful as it is.
Absolutely.
The moods, like even in Imperial Bedrooms, when he talks about there was one scene I remember he said he wrote a scene that he took out because it was too pretty. Even in that book, which is really stark and nasty, there's like a beauty to it, and people don't pick up on that. I don't think enough.
Oh man, you can see the book. Like you can see all these beautiful teenagers, this like amazing private school. It's sunny. The music he uses, like he keeps circling back on Ultravox, O Vienna. Like I fucking love that song, and I love his use of it in the book. I actually got to interview John Fox once. That was pretty cool. But what's really exciting to me, and I think a bit of a paradigm shift, because you know, you remember when White came out, Bret Easton Ellis was like getting a lot of, this was like height of the Me Too era. So like a lot of like anti Bret Easton Ellis sentiment from, let's say, like a certain kind of liberal critic who defines most of the mainstream publishing world in America now. So, but now the Shards just got greenlit to be a fucking miniseries for HBO.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
I'm really excited to see who they cast. And Brett, I know he kind of pays attention to this section of the internet. Brett, if you need a fucking writer on the staff that's not a chat GPT, hit me up. Who do you think would play a good Robert Mallory?
Oh, do you know what? I'm so out of touch with like TV and like actors and stuff now. Yeah, I'm. Who knows? Who knows? They're probably all too old. The actors who I know.
I was thinking just, I guess an obvious choice would be the kid who plays Nate on Euphoria.
I've still not seen that show.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
a
really
big Sam Levinson fan, the creator
it's
of
on the list.
Euphoria.
I've had like everyone told me I'd like it.
Yeah, you would. I think both of you would, especially in its second season. It starts going to this much darker, almost like it's like Lars von Trier directing an episode of Skins or something. It's like sadomodernist, like teen pop.
Have they said who's directing the Shards yet? Because he was talking about someone dropped out because they wanted too much money, and it was like a big name.
And they're slightly affected right now, I think, by the strike.
Yeah,
but I think, you know, as long as it's not Paul Schrader, I'll be cool with it.
Yeah, I'm sure I remember him saying he loves Paul Schrader, but he wouldn't work with him again.
I'm not so into Paul Schrader.
I like him. Yeah.
I like the old ones, but I don't like the movies he's done recently.
Yeah, my favorite. I love Hardcore. It's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I love at least the first hour of Hardcore. I really love, and I love Mishima,
Yeah,
and I love, even though it's a very flawed film in a lot of ways, I love American Gigolo.
yeah, it's great. It's great.
What are your favorite? Sorry, go ahead.
I really like the Canyons as well.
Yeah, that was fun. And he did this movie that with Nick Cage and Willem Dafoe that I kind of liked. Oh, Dog Eat Dog, really violent, sadistic, kind of nothing movie. But I really, really did not like First Reform. And the press around it and the sort of unanimous praise around it kind of mystified me. Because I felt like I was watching like the wrong, I was like it seems like a movie about a guy who's becoming like radicalized to Nazism, but it was like radicalized to like environmentalism. So something about it just like didn't make sense to me. And then I just watched his new one last week, The Master Gardener, which is about a Nazi, but a reformed Nazi. And I'm like, oh my God, a Nazi who's a gardener, fucking sign me up. But it still manages to be like so boring. I just couldn't fucking believe it. Audrey, who are your favorite filmmakers? I know you like watching films.
Well, I don't know really. I mean,
Or just movies.
well, I've been repeatedly watching the same films over and over again. Like you're talking about Paul Schrader. I went through a phase a couple of weeks ago where I just watched Taxi Driver, like constantly.
Yeah. Taxi Driver's a 10 out of 10.
I just constantly watched it. Like I was sitting on a plane watching it. I was like go to sleep watching it. Like, fixing my hair, watching it. It's like constantly there. I got like really obsessed with it. I used to really like Stanley Kubrick, which is like an obvious thing to say.
No,
But
he's fantastic.
I also will watch things like Neon Demon and Drive because I like that whole neon aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like Only God Forgives. Like I like that kind of stuff.
Oh, I love him. I love him.
And also, weirdly enough, I watch a lot of Chinese movies and uh whatever Russian movies, Tarkovsky, I really like. Yeah, so just obscure stuff.
Yeah, actually one of the first essays that I got a lot of attention for was an essay I wrote about Nicholas Winding Refn's Amazon miniseries Too Old to Die Young. Did you watch that?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Audrey, you gotta check that shit out. Did you watch that, Thomas?
No, I read your essay.
Yeah, I was super excited about it when it came out, but it's like a 13-hour. It doesn't feel like a show. It's like a 13-hour film. It very much feels like what's his fucking face? Oh, who directed Out One? I have a fucking DVD here. Oh yeah, Jacques Rivette. It feels like how Jacques Rivette would do like they'd be sequenced as television shows, like Out One's like 14 hours, but it's a film. It's just a 14-hour film. So it's a bit like that. And it's all the tropes that he was kind of defining with those neon movies that you discuss, but then it stretched out, and there's all this stuff about like criminal ineptitude, cartel, it's like it's the coolest depiction of the cartel, of a drug cartel in Mexico that I've ever seen. It shows God, it's hard to describe, but there's like this cartel initiation ritual where this kid who's American. His mom was the cartel boss on the American side of the border, and his mom was murdered, and he enacts revenge and then goes south to be with his family down there. And he gets close to his cousin, and they're ready to take over this business together, but he has to do this initiation ritual. And Refn doesn't really show the whole thing, but he just shows this kid. They're doing like a mountain Scarface pile of cocaine together. And then you just see his cousin sort of push him down. They're naked. And then it's very clear that his cousin like fucks him in the ass. And that's the initiation ritual. I was like, this is fucking nuts. So yeah, I love him. And he's definitely an artist that's super alienating to a lot of critics and whatnot, but seems to really be like adored and loved by the real heads, so to speak.
Yeah. I'm also into like stuff like Haneke and Louis Buñuel, these kind of things.
Bourgeois psychodrama.
Yeah.
I like that stuff too.
So yeah, that's just where I am right now. But I'm one of those people, like if you ask me, you know, what's my favorite film or what are my favorite books, my mind sort of goes blank and I become like a zombie. And I like feel like I'm hit on the spot and then I suddenly can't remember anything that I like.
Yeah, an absolute favorite is like a tough thing because it's like a very fluid concept. Like you might be really enthusiastic about something at one point, and then that might change.
Yeah, I've seen stuff. Yeah.
All right, guys, I think this is a cool place to cut it, but this was fantastic. If there's anything you want to inform the audience about what you have, well, first of all, go to amphetaminsulfate.bigcartel.com and get both Audrey and Thomas's newest novels. They're both excellent. Abso-fucking-lutely right there in Thomas's hand. And do you guys have anything else coming out or that you're looking forward to or that you want to hit people to?
Not right now, but you know, I'm just working on stuff pretty much all the time, and obviously as soon as I have news, it's going to be on my Instagram and my Twitter and everything, Facebook, whatever.
Yeah.
Same.
All right, guys, and hopefully when mine comes out, we can do another event together. Last time we did was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the next time that we all get to hang out.
Amazing.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Evan.
All right. Talk to you soon. Love you both.
Okay.
See you later.
Love you both. See you soon, Audrey. See you, Adam.
Bye.
Bye-bye.